Good evening, and welcome back to Make History Dark. Tonight, we go looking for a ghost. He is perhaps the most famous Viking who ever lived, a legendary king and raider whose name is known to millions, a hero of the old sagas and of our own screens. His name is Ragnar Lothbrok. There is only one small problem. We cannot be at all certain that he ever truly existed. So settle in and let the fire burn low. Tonight, there is a mystery to unravel, the strange and shadowy space between the man and the myth. For the story of Ragnar is really a story about how legends are made and how, across the long centuries, a handful of half-remembered raiders can be woven together into a single, towering hero. First, the legend, for it is a magnificent one. In the old Norse tales, Ragnar Lothbrok is the greatest Viking of his age, a king of Denmark and Sweden, a terror to the kingdoms of England and Francia, a man who won victory after victory across the seas. His very name carries a story. Lothbrok, it is said, means something close to hairy breeches, for as a young man, the legend goes, he slew a monstrous, venomous serpent and won his bride, wearing shaggy trousers he had boiled in pitch to protect himself from its fangs. The sagas give him a life crowded with drama. He takes as his wives, in different tellings, a fierce shield-maiden named Lagertha, and later a wise and mysterious woman named Aslaug. And he fathers a line of sons who would become legends in their own right. Among them, Bjorn Ironside, Halfdan, Ubba, and the strange and formidable Ivar the Boneless. Wherever Ragnar went, glory and bloodshed followed. He was, in the telling, everything a Viking hero was meant to be. And his death was the most famous part of all. The legend holds that Ragnar, grown old and reckless, sailed to England with too few men and was captured by a Northumbrian king named Aella, and that Aella had him cast into a pit of writhing serpents to die of their venom. As the snakes coiled about him, Ragnar is said to have sung a death song without fear and to have spoken a final chilling promise that his sons would come to avenge him. The little piglets, he is supposed to have said, would grunt now if they knew how the old boar suffered. It is a tremendous story, but when we go looking for the man beneath it, the ground turns to mist. For every one of these tales comes to us from the sagas, and the sagas were written down in Iceland in the 12th and 13th centuries, 300 and 400 years after Ragnar was supposed to have lived. They are full of dragons and prophecies and impossible deeds. They are wonderful stories. They are not reliable history. These tales reach us through a scattering of medieval sources, an Icelandic saga bearing Ragnar's own name, a companion tale of his sons, and the sprawling history of the Danes, set down by a scholar named Saxo Grammaticus. But all of them were written long after the Viking Age had ended, by men gathering up old poems and older rumors. They do not always agree with one another. They contradict and embellish, and borrow freely from folklore. And where we can test them against solid fact, they often fall apart. And when we turn to the records written in Ragnar's own supposed lifetime, the careful annals kept by the monks of England and Francia, who noted the comings and goings of Viking leaders with anxious precision, we find no clear trace of him. No contemporary chronicler describes a great king named Ragnar Lothbrok doing the deeds the sagas would later give him. The most famous Viking of all leaves almost no footprint in the history of his own age. Almost none, but not quite. For there are tantalizing fragments that may point to something real. In the year 845, a great Viking fleet sailed up the River Seine and fell upon the city of Paris itself. Its leader, the Frankish sources tell us, was a chieftain named Ragnar. a name close enough to Ragnar to catch the eye. He plundered the city, extorted an enormous ransom in silver from the Frankish king to make him leave, and then, some accounts say, sailed home and died soon after of a sudden sickness. Was this the real Ragnar? We cannot say for certain. But it is the kind of shadow from which a legend might grow. And here the mystery takes its strangest turn. Because while the father hides in the mist, his sons step out into the full light of history. The men the sources call the sons of Ragnar, Ivar the Boneless, Halfdan, Ubba, are not legends. They are real. In the year 865, they led the Great Heathen Army into England and toppled kingdom after kingdom in a campaign recorded in sober detail by the very people who suffered it. We have firmer evidence for Ragnar's children than we do for Ragnar himself. According to the sagas, that great invasion was an act of vengeance, the sons of Ragnar descending upon England to make King Aella pay for the death of their father in the snake pit. It is a satisfying story. But most historians suspect the revenge was added later, a dramatic thread stitched on to explain an invasion that had far simpler motives: land and silver, and the chance to conquer a divided island. The army was real. The vengeance may be just another gift of the storytellers. Think on how strange that is. The sons are historical, the father is a shadow, and it suggests a fascinating possibility that Ragnar Lothbrok was not really the name of one man at all, that he was, instead, a kind of vessel, a great heroic name onto which the deeds of several real Viking leaders, scattered across the 9th century, were slowly gathered. A raid on Paris here, a death in England there, a fearsome band of famous sons, all drawn together over generations of telling into a single towering figure who never quite existed, and yet somehow contained them all. For that is how legends are made. Real deeds, real names, real fragments of memory, repeated and embellished and combined, each teller adding a little more, until the plain iron of history has been forged into something golden and larger than life. Ragnar was given a serpent to slay, and a shield-maiden to wed, and a death song to sing among the snakes. Not because these things happened, but because they were the things a hero ought to have done. And the making of the legend did not stop in the age of the sagas. In our own century, Ragnar was lifted out of the old books and set upon the television screen, and there he became more famous than he had been in 1,000 years. His story reshaped again, blended once more with invention, and carried to millions who had never heard his name before. The legend is still being written even now. Ragnar grows larger with every generation that tells of him. So did Ragnar Lothbrok exist? The honest answer is that we do not know, and likely never will. The single specific man of the sagas, the serpent slayer, the snake pit king, almost certainly did not. But somewhere beneath the legend, there were real men. Viking leaders who raided Paris, who terrorized kingdoms, who fathered the warriors that shook England to its foundations. They were real. Their names are simply lost to us now, hidden behind the great shadow of Ragnar. And perhaps that is fitting. For if Ragnar Lothbrok is a legend stitched together from many men, then he is, in a way, the truest Viking of them all, not one raider, but all of them. The whole fierce and restless spirit of the age gathered into a single name. The man may be a ghost, but the world he stands for was real, and it was terrible, and it changed the course of history. That is where we will rest tonight, in the mist between memory and myth, where the greatest of the Vikings still sits upon his shadowed throne. Whether he lived or not, his sons truly came, and the storm they raised was real enough. Rest now, and let the fire burn low. In the nights to come, there will be more from the dark edges of history. Until then, sleep well. Make history dark, and good night.